Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Voodoo 51292, and today I will be doing another one of my honest, thorough game reviews for you. And today's game is a reboot, another reboot of a popular series that was, popular back in the 90s and into the early 2000s. And we're seeing more and more of these studios, over the past couple of years, wanting to bring back some games and some franchises that were popular, kind of went off the deep end, and they wanted to bring them back. Last year we had games like Duke Nukem Forever, Deus Ex Human Revolution, which were revivals of old game titles, and then we had Mortal Kombat, which was a reboot last year. So today's game is another one of these such reboots, and as you can see by the title, the game we'll be talking about today is Twisted Metal. And I have a lot of things to say on this game, so we're going to jump into it and see what happens. So, Twisted Metal, for those of you who don't know, the first Twisted Metal came out in 1995 on the PlayStation 1, and basically what Twisted Metal is just a game where primarily, you're going to be dealing with a multitude of different vehicles. And the gameplay is basically to kill and destroy all the other vehicles. And it's basically vehicular carnage is probably the best word to describe what Twisted Metal is. It's a crazy game that is very dark. It's very, it's very heavy. It's a very it's not a nice friendly plot, let's say that. It's a very dark series of games that revolves around just carnage, killing everyone, and just blowing a bunch of stuff up. Alright, and Twisted Metal, the 2012 edition, has two different modes. You have the story mode and you have the online multiplayer. And first of all, we're going to talk about the story mode. So basically the story mode is like a three-part story mode of three different classic Twisted Metal characters. You have Sweet Tooth, who is a sadistic clown. You have Mr. Grimm, who is just kind of like this rogue gang thug. And then you have Dollface, who is a supermodel who basically gets slightly disfigured in a car accident and kind of goes off the deep end and becomes nuts. And basically, each of these characters has their own little plot line, but all three of these characters are all trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to win the Twisted Metal tournament to have a wish granted from this person named Calypso, who basically hosts the Twisted Metal tournament, mainly because he just likes the carnage. He just likes to see people die, and he likes to see just violent carnage, because Calypso is basically like the devil, and he has the ability as such to grant wishes to the winners of the Twisted Metal tournaments. And each of the three characters have their own separate wish that they want from Calypso, which I won't give away in case you want to play the game, but all three of them, like I said, want to do the same thing. So the way that the story mode is structured, like I said, it's a three-part story mode with these characters. And basically the formula is the same for all three characters. You'll start off with an opening cutscene to introduce you to the character, find out what your wish is. Then you'll have three events, then you'll have a middle cutscene which will further expand the story. Then you'll have two more events and then a final boss fight. And after that, you'll have that character's closing cutscene where, they win the tournament and go to Calypso. And pretty much all three of these guys, well, I guess two guys and one girl, all have twist endings in their plot. Things don't really turn out the way that they expect, and it's pretty interesting. But that's how it's structured. As far as the gameplay of the story mode, you're going to be participating in these events, various events that obviously increase in difficulty as you progress in the story, and these could range anything from just simple deathmatch where you the whole point is just for you to go out and kill everybody, and stay alive, obviously. You'll have, there's variations on that, so things like the electric cage, which is a section, there's a section on the map that you have to be within to fight, and if you're not within this section of the map, you lose what you call grace points, and if you lose all your grace points and drive outside of the cage, you'll lose health, and this little area moves across the map during the course of the game, and you have to keep moving to these different places and blowing everybody else up. There are races in the game where you have to come in, you have to fight everybody, but you also have to win the race, or you lose the event. There are things called Juggernaut death matches, where there's this giant 18-wheeler called a Juggernaut, and every minute and a half he spawns a new enemy, and you have to go basically find and kill the Juggernaut quickly before he spawns too many enemies, and then when he's dead, you have to go around and kill all the enemies he spawned. So there's a bunch of different variations, but the gameplay is pretty much the same, alright? So first comment I have to make about the story mode, alright? And this is an important one if you want to play the game. There is no tutorial system embedded into the story mode of the game. Meaning if you just start the story mode, the game is not going to explain to you controls, it's not going to tell you what's going on, and if you actually go into the menu to the wireless controller settings, it does not give you a controller layout, alright? And the first, I would say 13 parts or so of my gameplay of the campaign of Twisted Metal, I had no idea how to find controls. The game never explains it to you, the game never tells you where to go look for controls. So I got very frustrated because there's a lot of different controls, intricate controls in the game, and I didn't know how to use them. Well, after uploading my first set of videos, some people commented and told me that there's actually a training mode that you have to go to learn the controls, which I did, and I did learn the controls. But I have a problem with that, and that is the fact that, first of all, we're in 2012 now, and the tutorial systems should be integrated into the story mode of the game. But if they're not, okay. But when you start the story mode, the game should tell you, why don't you check out training mode before starting the story? That way you at least know, because the training mode is just hidden in the one-player menu, and if you don't expect there to be a separate training mode, which I don't, because I don't think I've played a game with a separate training mode since I've been on YouTube, then, you click on one player, the first option is story mode, you'll just click that right away, and you won't even look down the menu to see training mode. And it's very frustrating because the game doesn't explain to you controls at all in the story mode. So word to the wise, if you play this game, make sure to do the training mode or you're not going to have any idea what's going on, what the controls are, or what you need to do. And the game gives you no indication in the story mode. So that's a big problem, alright? Now, I'll say this before I say any more, alright? I did not complete the story mode of Twisted Metal. I stopped, I quit on it early because I got insanely frustrated with it and I didn't want to play it anymore. And I'll go into detail about that. But just know I did not actually complete the story mode of Twisted Metal. I know all about the story because I watched a full playthrough of Twisted Metal. So I do know, what it looks like, all the matches, all the character stories. I just didn't play all of it firsthand, alright? So, basically, the gameplay of Twisted Metal is you need to drive around the map and pick up various weapons, alright? And use these weapons to shoot and blow up your opponents. And you can select from a wide variety of cars, each with different abilities. So some cars may be heavy on armor, but they're very slow. Other cars are very speedy but don't have much armor. Some cars have better weapons than other cars. But mainly, that's all the gameplay consists of. And you will get hit, okay? Regardless of what you do, you are going to get dominated by the computer, alright? And when I say dominated, I mean you are going to continuously get hit by everything, by missiles, by gunfire, everything you can imagine while you're sitting there trying to hit everybody else, because there's no defense system in the game really against enemy attacks. The only thing you have is a shield ability that you can use for a limited amount of time, which reduces damage. Other than that, there is no way to avoid attacks in the game. And that means that almost every game mode can be ridiculously frustrating because you'll have 6 people that you're supposed to kill all by yourself, and the way that the AI is programmed, all of those enemies are only going to attack you. Alright? They very rarely attack each other. And because of that, you'll be driving around and just completely be getting owned left and right by the AI, and there's not a thing you can do about it. And they'll shoot missiles at you, they'll ram you, they'll use special attacks on you, and it's very frustrating. Now, the death matches in those kind of game modes where you just kill everybody can be pretty enjoyable to just drive around. The environment's indestructible, and it can be a lot of fun to drive around and blow up all the other, try to blow up all the other cars, and it's crazy, and there's explosions everywhere, and it can be pretty enjoyable. But it can also be very frustrating, and as the game continues, the more and more and more frustrating it gets. And this is one of those games where the game developers haven't learned the difference yet between challenging and cheating and frustration. They are on the cheating and frustration end instead of the actual good challenge end. And that's a very 90s way of thinking. This game is very much, I guess what you would call classic Twisted Metal from the 90s, where there are just these events in the story mode that you will just have to play and play and play repeatedly until A, you figure out the best way to abuse the game, abuse the system, and win the event, or you just get stupid lucky and win, and don't maybe get attacked by one person, or they leave you alone for most of the time. It's one of those types of games, and it's in every game mode there's something different that's frustrating, alright? I was playing one mode where I had 2 juggernauts I was supposed to kill at the same time, and the map I was on was ridiculously frustrating because it was a map with different winding roads, but most of these roads had barricades along the side of them. So if you got on one road, you were kind of stuck on that road, and the juggernauts would be all over the map, and it was ridiculously frustrating to try to get on the road with the juggernaut. And some of the barricades the game will let you jump over, some of the barricades the game would not let you jump over. And some of the most annoying things in all of these deathmatch modes and juggernaut deathmatch modes is that there's a car with a magnet ability, alright? And you'll just be driving along, trying to, kill your target or do whatever you're doing, and all of a sudden your car will just go flying off the screen and attach to the front of this guy's car. And once you're on the car, there's really not much you can do about it. It says mash buttons to escape or whatever, but it doesn't really work that well. And you'll just be stuck to this guy's car. He'll drive around and throw you completely across the map. That's one of the most annoying things, followed only by the highly annoying weapon that completely shuts down your engine. You'll be driving along, all of a sudden you'll get hit by electricity, your engine will stall out, and you'll have to mash on buttons to try to restart your engine, okay? And this can be very annoying because one of the things about deathmatch is you choose 3 vehicles, and 2 of them are in what they call the garage. And so if you're running low on health on one vehicle, you can drive to the garage and try to get another one. Well, there were multiple times when I was running low on health, I would drive to go to the garage, and just before I would get in the garage, I'd get hit with the magnet, the guy would drive me away from the garage and throw me across the map, and then there was no way of getting back to the garage alive, and I was killed. Either that, or I'd try to go in the garage, and the AI would come and T-bone me right out of the way of the garage, and refuse to let me go in until I was dead. That's very frustrating. The races are also extremely frustrating for the same reason, that the AI will prevent you from winning the race. They're not trying to win the race, they're trying to make sure you don't win the race. And again, you'll get hit with the magnet ability on the race, and you'll be driving along doing well, all of a sudden your car will just stop, get sucked backwards in the last place, and let go from the magnet, and you're like, what am I supposed to do about that? Because there's no kind of defense against that. In all these game modes, because you just keep getting attacked and attacked and attacked non-stop, a lot of times you'll be driving around, there are so many effects going on the screen. You'll be getting hit by rockets, you'll be getting shot. There's fire everywhere. You can't see a thing. You have no idea where you are, where you're going. You just keep continuously getting hit, and it's very frustrating, okay? And it just gets harder and harder, not difficulty-wise, but cheating-wise with the game, just refusing to let you go into a garage, or just, it's just very frustrating. The story mode of the game is very frustrating, and I didn't want to play it anymore, because I said I only have this game for a little while, and I don't want to sit here and continuously play the story mode. Sure, I could beat it if I wanted to sit here and redo the same stages time and time and time and time again, until I just got lucky or whatever, and beat a stage and move on. I don't really want to do that. So the story mode is very frustrating. Now the plots of the story mode, like I said, are actually pretty interesting. There's nothing very in-depth here about the plot, but they're cool little stories, and they do end pretty well. And the whole game has a pretty neat ending, a neat twist ending that you don't see coming. So for the story aspect, the story mode is okay and pretty interesting. But gameplay-wise, you're gonna have fun for about the first couple of matches if you learn the controls. If you don't, and you jump in there and don't know there's a training mode, you'll probably hate it from the very beginning, because you don't know what you're doing. And the control scheme is very intricate. There's 100 different buttons and button combinations to hit to shoot certain weapons and do certain things. And, you know, in the heat of a game like that, there's a lot of those things you just forget. Like, you're not, with all this carnage going on around you and missiles going off everywhere crazy, a lot of times you're not going to remember what buttons to hit, and it can be very complicated. So for me, the story mode was not good. It was frustrating. It would cheat. The AI would only target you, not each other. And I didn't enjoy it and quit playing it, because I didn't want to sit there for hours on end replaying the same thing till I happened to beat it, okay? So with you know, the story mode being out of the way, let's talk about the multiplayer a little bit. Twisted Metal has really been known in the past for its multiplayer, and that's really where the game should and is supposed to shine, is on the multiplayer, driving around, destroying people online, you know, having fun with it. And obviously there's not going to be any cheating online, because everybody's a human, and they can't, you know, they're not all going to gang up on you. Not all 6 people are going to gang up on you unless they really hate you. Oh, excuse me. And they're not going to, you know, continuously drive you off the track or whatever, okay? So, the first little bit of multiplayer I actually played, I played with John Rambo and OJ for about 3 matches, and I was able to join their room, no problem. We played only 3 matches. I came in kind of late on the session, and Rambo left, but we played on there, and it was pretty enjoyable, running around shooting everybody. Then tonight I said, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to play a good session of multiplayer. I'm going to try out the different game modes and really, you know, play it thoroughly. That way I can give it a good review, a good thorough review. First match I jumped into was no problem. I jumped into a death match. It was actually pretty fun. And then I stayed in the same lobby. We switched maps, went into a new room. It started off fine, and then all of a sudden, it booted me from the server, and I could never get into a game from there. I would go down the list. First of all, the multiplayer is set up basically like with lobbies, which I hate. I can't stand games that for the multiplayer they make you join games manually. I don't understand why you can't just set it up like Call of Duty or any of these other games where you just pick the mode you want and hit join, and it'll just put you in a match that has an opening. But this game decides not to do that. And I would go down the list, I would hit games. Either, one, the room didn't have nearly enough people to start, so you'd have to sit in the room forever waiting for people to join it manually. Or, the game would have enough people to be playing, there would just be a few people short of a full room. I'd go to join the room, it wouldn't let me. It would keep booting me out, keep not letting me connect. And I tried for like a whole video. I tried for 12 minutes, which I have recorded, and it'll be up by the time you see this that you can watch, of me just going through the lobby, clicking everything I could, and the game just refused to let me join. There's also it's supposed to be a quick join button, but I tried that, it doesn't work. It doesn't join, and I know that the servers for Twisted Metal have been having problems all week long. Since its release on Tuesday, the online has been not working properly. There's been a big issue with it. The director, David Jaffe's come out and said, you know, we apologize for it, but it looks like it's Sony's fault for their servers. Bottom line is that the game's been out now for 5 or 6 days, and maybe it isn't David Jaffe's fault or the game developer's fault, but it is their game, and unfortunately they have to take the blame for it. You know, it's just, I don't put it past PlayStation that it's their problem with their servers why the matchmaking's not working, but unfortunately that's on the head of the developers of Twisted Metal. I mean, it's their game. There's other games on PlayStation 3 that the matchmaking is working, and it's unfortunate if the servers are not working for them. But unfortunately, they have to take the brunt of it, and that's just how I feel about it. So I would love to have played the multiplayer, given you a good review of the multiplayer, but I couldn't because it doesn't work. The matchmaking doesn't work. It hasn't been working all week long, and it's really ridiculous. And so that's a major problem, that the matchmaking doesn't work. And again, I quit the story mode because of how frustrated I was doing the same thing over and over and over again. I'm not going to sit there and play and try to get into the multiplayer doing the same thing over and over and over again, trying to join a room, and it won't let me. So I know DSP was having problems all week trying to get into matches, so it's not worth it. I'm done with the game. I'm done with the frustration. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And I'm finished. So some notes to make before we give the game a score. The soundtrack for the game is actually very good. Okay, it's actually a cool mix of like hard rock, metal songs, licensed songs from like Avenged Sevenfold, Rob Zombie, White Zombie. There's a rap group that's on it, and the music is pretty good. All right, the licensed music is pretty good. The cutscenes for the game are actually pretty good. They're done in like what DSP describes as a B-movie grindhouse style, which I guess it really is, with like real actors acting out the parts of the characters, like Calypso and Sweet Tooth and all these other people, and they're pretty good. The stories, like I said, are pretty interesting. They have good twist endings, which are pretty fun, and the gameplay can be fun at times in the story mode, but mainly, to me, it's just frustrating. As far as online is concerned, it seems like fun, but unfortunately the matchmaking is bugged out and doesn't work properly 5 to 6 days after release, which is a major problem. And you know, you can't have those kind of problems. The graphics, I wasn't too amazed with the graphics in the game. They're nothing spectacular. They look a little dated, to be honest with you. So it doesn't really get much points for graphics. But before we give it a score, let me tell you who I think would like the game, who I think would hate it. If you are a fan of the classic Twisted Metal games from the 90s, if you played those games, you really enjoyed them, you're probably going to like this edition of Twisted Metal, simply because it's the same kind of gameplay. It's gameplay that's back in the 90s with AI that really cheats. That's how they make the game harder. It cheats. Replaying levels over and over again. And, you know, 90s gameplay. So if you're a fan of classic Twisted Metal, you'll probably like this game. If you're somebody like me, who is basically new to the series, you're probably not going to like the game at all. Now, some people, I guess, will. I did not. I found it really frustrating and annoying. And, you know, it's a shame. I was expecting more. I was disappointed from what I saw. I was disappointed by the frustrating story mode, the fact that the matchmaking doesn't work. So, you know, it is what it is. And, of course, my scores are based off of my, you know, my own personal experiences with the game, and my experiences were not good. I mean, even after I learned the controls in story mode, I got through a couple of parts easily, knowing the controls. Then I got to that dual juggernaut thing, where the game, it was just being ridiculous and frustrating, and the computer would just gang up on me and destroy me to the point where it just wasn't even fun, and I said I'm done with it. So that's what I have to say about Twisted Metal. So now I'm going to give the game a score, alright? So for Twisted Metal, for what it is, for the fact that the matchmaking has major problems, I can only give Twisted Metal a 5. A 5 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give Twisted Metal. Very average game in my opinion, considering that, you know, all the things that I said about the story mode, having to replay it over and over again, and the matchmaking not working. That's a major issue. Again, multiplayer is fun when you can get into a match, but it's going to be a lot of hard work to get into a match, and games shouldn't be work. Games should be fun. And unfortunately this game, both the story mode and trying to find an online match, to me are both work. And to me, I don't want to work playing a video game. I want to have fun doing it. And unfortunately for me, this game was not my cup of tea. I don't think it was made very well, and I was disappointed with it. But take my opinion as you will. That's how I feel about Twisted Metal. I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm just going to be done, because I'm done with the frustration. Alright? So, that's my official review of Twisted Metal. I hope you guys found it useful for you. Again, if you're wondering why I'm frustrated, why I get frustrated with the game, all you have to do is go check out my footage, and you can check out the multiplayer footage where I just sit there for 12 minutes trying to get into a game and can't do it, so you know I'm not lying. Yeah, so a 5 out of 10 for Twisted Metal. Very disappointed, and hopefully, from the ending of the game, it seems like there's going to be another Twisted Metal in the storyline. I hope that they would improve it, but I kind of doubt that they're going to. If it's 2012 and their game, their first game of their kind of reboot is the same gameplay as the 90s without really much advancement, it doesn't leave much hope for me to think that the next iteration is going to be any different. But I guess we'll see what happens. So there you go, 5 out of 10 for Twisted Metal. Hope you enjoyed the game review, and please be sure to check out my footage, and I'll see you guys soon with another game review. Thanks.